Did pirates really bury their treasures? Were there treasure maps and islands where they hid their loot? Yes to several of those questions, but historically it wasn't always as you'd imagine. So what do the experts on the subject say? Well, first of all, these questions focus on the golden age of piracy, mainly spanning the late 17th to early 18th centuries. This was especially true in the Americas, including the West Indies and Caribbean, and also in the Indian Ocean, where trade was thriving. Most pirate legends originate from this period, though piracy has existed for thousands of years. It is in this context that we find, for example, the buccaneers, which is a term derived from the Dutch vrijbuiter, meaning free plunderer. And speaking of loot, what kind of treasures did pirates, buccaneers, privateers, and other outlaws actually get their hands on? First, it's important to understand that many pirate expeditions weren't profitable, as pirates could spend weeks at sea without finding a single ship. But when they pulled off a heist, what did they get? Well, the merchant ships they managed to capture were actually very rarely loaded with gold. Loot from a successful capture often included goods like alcohol, silk, furniture, and spices. The speaker's wreck. Is that the pirate ship? John Bowen illustrates this well. Archaeologists found bronze figurines, Chinese porcelain, pearls, many bottles of alcohol, and 34 coins of varied origins during several captures. These captures were thus essentially made up of goods that were of no interest to the pirates as they were. That's why they quickly sold them to merchants willing to ignore the goods' origin, but who thus had the advantage in negotiations and managed to drive the prices down. But once they managed to get rid of their loot and had money in their pockets, what did the pirates do with that money? Did he actually bury it somewhere? Well, no. For most of them, once they got their share, they rushed to spend it on gambling, alcohol, and women. It may sound cliche, but this historical reality is understandable. Life at sea is so dangerous that pirates rush to enjoy themselves on land, fearing they may die before spending their loot. They rarely saved anything, which ironically later motivated them to join new expeditions. But there were exceptions to this pattern. So it was mainly the pirate leaders who were able to amass more money who devoted their loot to things other than fleeting pleasures. Did these pirate leaders hide their gold? Still no. Archaeologist John Sula, a piracy expert, is very clear on the subject. He says we have no historical or archaeological validation on this subject. Without formal evidence or discovered treasures, it seems unlikely this was the norm. And when you think about it, it makes sense, since pirates who were able to accumulate wealth preferred to find solutions to improve their lives. For example, by investing their gold in plantations or trade instead of letting it sit unused on a deserted island. In short, the pirates either spent or invested their money, so they had no reason to bury or hide it, except in a few exceptional cases. There is, therefore, a particular case where it could be interesting for a pirate to hide a treasure. This then served its holder in a way as a life insurance. Some treasures could thus have been temporarily hidden to be used as bargaining chips during negotiations, especially with the authorities, in order to obtain an amnesty or a new job, but this time a legal one, in the service of a state. Other rare, almost legendary examples also show pirates hiding treasures. The best known example is the 3 treasures of Cocos Island, Costa Rica, which inspired novelist Robert Louis Stevenson, author of Treasure Island, which is a fictional story that has greatly contributed to shaping the image of the pirate in our collective imagination. The most fascinating of these treasures is that of the Scottish captain William Thompson. In 1821, during the Peruvian War of Independence, revolutionaries neared Lima, now the nation's capital. And it is in this context that the religious authorities hastily entrust the ship Mary Dear, commanded by Captain Thompson, the city's riches, including jewelry, art, and relics they wanted safe in Mexico. In short, this is a huge treasure worth tens of millions of euros. The Mary Dear raises anchor and escapes the revolutionaries, only to be hijacked by its crew led by the first mate, whom Thompson does not resist. The sailors, now turned pirates, then set course for El Coco Island, intending to lay low for a while before coming back to retrieve it. But the plan doesn't work, and the entire crew simply ends up being captured. Everyone except Thompson and his first mate are hanged for piracy. Cleverly, he offers to lead the authorities to the treasure, and it's during this expedition to the treasure that they manage to escape. But without their loot, which ultimately acted as life insurance for the two pirates. Legend has it that it was only on his deathbed that Thompson revealed the exact location of the treasure to a friend named John Keating. He then organized an expedition in 1844 and claimed to have found part of the treasure. To this day, it has not been possible to formally prove that it was indeed the riches of Lima. Other treasure legends remain, including Blackbeard's, whose pirate wouldn't reveal its location before dying. Captain Graham's is thought to be hidden near Waffer Bay on El Coco Island. Or the treasure of the French pirate Olivier Levasseur, called La Bouse, who, at the moment of being hanged in July 1730, threw a cryptogram into the crowd, shouting, "My treasure, to whoever can take it." This last legend has inspired several expeditions, including recent ones, but none have achieved notable success. Well, what about treasure maps and their famous X marking the spot? Well, as you understood, that's purely an invention, in this case, once again, by the brilliant novelist Stevenson, whose work is called Treasure. But then where does this image come from? This image mostly originates from the 19th century Romantic movement, shaping our modern view of pirates. He was portrayed as a crafty sailor, eager for gold and hunting treasures on deserted islands. Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, published in 1883, has especially shaped our image of piracy. With his well-known character Long John Silver, the one-legged pirate with a parrot on his shoulder, Captain Flint buries his treasure on a mysterious island in this book. This image remains strong in popular culture, especially in films. Pirates of the Caribbean on television, the loose series Black Sails, or video games like Sea of Thieves. In summary, except for a few rare and poorly documented cases, pirates typically didn't bury treasures or create treasure maps. Most of them preferred to spend their money as soon as they earned it, in a life where death could strike them at any moment, while others invested it with the hope of a better life. And did you think that pirates really buried their treasures? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and give a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. But before that, I have something to tell you. Making these documentaries involves extensive editing, days of research and writing, often with historians, plus skilled illustrators like Edward, whose beautiful work you saw today. Advertising revenue simply isn't enough to cover these costs. So, if you want us to keep digging into history, far from cliches and without shortcuts, you can join us on TPE, starting from €1 per month. Your support makes all the difference and also gives you access to the behind the scenes of this adventure. To join and support us, the link is in the description. And if you want to find out how, at the same time, a Frenchman became the main minister of one of the most powerful kingdoms in India, the next video is made for you.